Welcome to NarrativeNook Audiotales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Arabella was amused by his words and couldn't help but say, "That was an employee reporting to me. Are you so jealous that all my future colleagues should be females?" "That's actually a good idea." Arabella laughed. "What about you? All my employees can be males." Arabella didn't know how to respond to that and then chatted with him about various topics until someone knocked on the door and she had to hang up the phone. "Bella, these are the uniforms for tomorrow's extracurricular activity. I got 2 sets for you, both in your size." The person who came to her room was Kelly Piper. Arabella picked up the uniform and looked at it. The quality was pretty good. Suddenly, she remembered Romeo asking her on the phone if she had received her uniform. Could it be? "I heard the material and style of this year's uniforms are different from previous years. They're sponsored by Macmillan Corporation. Is this your husband's doing?" Arabella's face turned slightly red. "What husband? He's your man, isn't he? Or is he mine?" Kelly joked, "This material is really good, but the style seems a bit conservative. The parts that should be exposed were not exposed at all." This man really protected his wife to the extreme. From a distance, there was a crowd of people. The instructor leading Arabella's class looked very strict. Although he was still young, his weathered face and sharp eyes made people feel a bit apprehensive. "It's so hot, I'm about to faint. I can't hold on after just an hour. When will it finally end? Bella, how is your physical stamina so good?" Kelly was thirsty, and her throat felt hot when she spoke. "All of you, stand up straight." The instructor blew a whistle, looking even more serious as he wanted better performance from them. "Didn't you have breakfast? Look at the class next to us, how do you think they're doing?" The whole class listlessly said, "Not good. Your performance is just as bad as theirs, stand up straight." The whole class was about to collapse. Only through strict training can you become good steel. Why are you all falling apart before even starting to forge? This performance is disgraceful. Stand tall and straight. At that moment, a girl in the crowd weakly raised her hand and said weakly, "Sir, I'm feeling a bit dizzy. No one is allowed to fall here. I'd rather you sacrifice on the battlefield than any of you deserting. This is our military spirit." The whole class was even more devastated. "All of you listen up." The instructor blew a whistle and suddenly noticed that a boy was staring at Arabella. He slapped the back of the boy's head angrily. "Is she your girlfriend? No? Then why are you staring at her? Stand up straight." The whole morning, the class was tormented by that instructor named Jerome. Finally, a break from the grind. Everyone hustled towards the cafeteria. Leaning on Arabella, Kelly, being drained of all her strength, said, "Grandpa Beck told me to look out for you, but you don't seem to need anyone's help at all." She was probably the most energetic person in the whole class. "It's so hot, let's go eat before there's no seats left," Joyce said, dragging them along, starving and sweaty. "Do you think my skin got sunburned?" Maya touched her face, feeling the heat, probably a sunburn. The 4 arrived at the cafeteria, barely sat down with their meals, when they heard people chatting next to them. "I heard the top scorer's dorm is in the south building. Anybody living there know what she looks like?" Typically, the high achievers are bad-tempered and not so pretty. Online, lots of people are saying she's really ugly. Someone even said she's bald. Arabella, who was eating next to them, was stunned by their remarks. The other 3 girls stopped eating and looked at Arabella. Where was the ugly? Where was the bald? She was obviously so gorgeous, with such delicate skin. Even if they were making stuff up, they couldn't be so outrageous, right? I saw one of her old classmates saying the top scorer is unsociable, quirky, and talks to herself a lot, like she's got some mental issues. Kelly couldn't stand it anymore and slammed the table. "Have you even met her? Spouting nonsense without knowing her? Do you think spreading rumors is consequence-free? Instead of eating after a tiring training, you're here spouting crap." Caught off guard by her outburst, they stuttered. They were just chatting, not making things up. If the top scorer was really a looker, why were there so many negative comments about her online? As Arabella was eating, her phone started to buzz. It was from her employee. We've checked. All the male employees in your house have clean records. Are you sure? In just one day? They managed to check everyone. That was pretty fast. Their information was easy to find. The employee explained. Okay, I got it. Arabella hung up, then sent another message. Check again, see if any of them bought fake IDs, then go to their birthplaces to verify their info. The employee was stunned as he didn't expect the boss to be so thorough. Understood, boss. I'll handle it. Arabella put down her phone, and the few intense gazes nearby quickly retreated. Bella, you're incredibly beautiful, all the boys are looking at you. Joyce couldn't help but wink at Arabella. Even as a girl, she found Arabella's beauty admirable, let alone the boys. Taking a sip of soup, Maya added, not just Bella, Kelly's also very popular. Their beauty is just too captivating. There are also many boys looking at you too, Kelly said nonchalantly after finishing her meal. Our dorm probably has the most beautiful girls. Hello. A boy came up, shyly asking, what's your name? Can we be friends? Arabella spotted someone trying to chat her up. She glanced over and saw a fellow freshman in uniform, looking a bit nervous. Sorry, I can't help ya. Upon hearing Arabella's response, the guy's cheeks turned even redder. He muttered, my bad, and scurried off, leaving his buddies in stitches. A while later, another guy came up to her and asked Arabella for her contact info. Instead of handing it over, she told him to hit the books. This had the three girls around her cracking up. On their way back to the dorm, a steady stream of guys tried to pick them up, with Arabella getting the most attention. During the break time, Joyce slipped away for a bit. When she came back, her eyes were red-rimmed. What's up? Maya was the first to notice her condition, draping an arm over Joyce's shoulder and asked, weren't you just going to the loo? Why are you crying? Maya's question only made Joyce's eyes redder, and she was too choked up to speak. Arabella looked at Joyce and offered to help. Need a hand? Joyce shook her head. All right, everyone up. Just then, Jerome blew his whistle, signaling the end of the break time. Maya whispered to Joyce, you all right? Do you need to take a sick leave? Joyce shook her head again. The after-school activities resumed as usual. By sunset, everyone was too exhausted to move properly. Arabella, Kelly, and Maya occasionally checked on Joyce, noticing that she seemed distracted and down as if she had taken a big hit. The instructor Roger from the next class couldn't help but laugh because his class was training better than theirs. Roger blew a whistle and shouted, Noreen, step out and teach the class next door how it is done. Give instructor Jerome a break. Yes, sir. Noreen stood up, looking pretty and determined, her gaze full of fierce competitiveness. Jerome's face fell. He was supposed to let a freshman teach his class? How much did they underestimate them? Back in the day, he and Roger never really got along. Jerome retorted, who needs your newbie? Oh, my newbie is performing quite well. Is there anyone in your class who can match up to her? Anyone up for a challenge? Jerome looked back at his freshmen. Anyone wants to give it a shot? The class fell silent. They all saw Noreen's demonstration in the previous class. She was really good. If they stepped up, they were destined to lose. Her. To everyone's surprise, Noreen ignored the two instructors, slightly lifted her chin, and pointed at Joyce in the crowd because Joyce seemed like an easy target. Jerome looked at Joyce, you up for it? Joyce stood up, I'm willing to give it a shot. Noreen looked satisfied, then smirked, don't cry if I accidentally hit you later. The students from both classes started making a racket, cheering for their own classmates. Joyce had barely stepped up on stage when Noreen landed a punch to her head, followed by a kick. From the audience, Kelly watched Noreen's swift, precise, and fierce moves, leaving no room for Joyce to get back in the fight. She couldn't help saying, this is a bit much, isn't it? We're just having a friendly match. Does it need to be this intense? There should be some limits, Noreen. You're going too far. Maya defended Joyce. Ever heard of no mercy in a fight? Noreen kicked Joyce to the ground again. Despite the excruciating pain, Joyce pushed herself to stand up. Jerome watched her, feeling a bit heartbroken. He whistled and said, back to the line. Jerome, getting soft already? The class isn't even over yet. Roger was all laughs, playfully slapping Jerome on the shoulder. Don't blame my students later if yours aren't up to snuff. We're all about peace and love here, right? Jerome shrugged off his hand, clearly peeved. Peace and love was as just a saying to them. This was clearly a private vendetta, making a mockery of his students. Roger, acting like nothing happened, turned to his students with a smile. See that, guys? Not only does this class toughen you up, it also teaches you how to protect yourself. So work hard, or you'll end up being the cautionary tale. Finishing his sentence, he pointed at Joyce, who was at that point struggling to stand up to save face for her class. Seriously. A few guys from Arabella's class started grumbling. Joyce was knocked down to this state and yet was used as a warning example. Joyce, are you alright? After the match, Maya and Kelly hurriedly rushed to assist Joyce. Arabella noticed that Joyce's injuries were pretty serious. Noreen must have done it on purpose. Noreen, back to the line. Roger was about to whistle when he heard a voice. Excuse me. Arabella stood up, looking lazily at Noreen. I'd like to test Noreen's strength. Taken aback, Roger turned to Arabella. Oh, we've got another brave one. Well, a tough teacher breeds competitive students, right? And you think you've got the chops for it? Looking so frail, can you even stand a chance? Upon seeing Arabella standing, Jerome was somewhat speechless. While standing up for her classmate was commendable, he remembered her boxing skills from their practice, which were obviously not up to par. Was she just asking for a beating? Jerome cleared his throat and whispered to Arabella, better to compete when you're well prepared. No need to rush. I can handle it. Confidence filled Arabella's eyes. She was clearly a fighter. Roger couldn't help but tease. Jerome, are you teaching your students to dodge a fight? That doesn't sound like you. Male students from Arabella's class chimed in. You guys, this is our straight A's Arabella, you'll see. Arabella, kick her ass, teach her a lesson. Arabella, don't hold back, beat her down. Cheers and encouragement spread among the classmates. Roger and Jerome were surprised to learn that the elegant and proud girl in front of them was the rumored straight A student. A top student and so gorgeous? If she got hit and hurt her face, that wouldn't be great. Upon hearing straight AS, Noreen realized she was the one Serena had mentioned previously. Looks so full of herself. I'll give her a warm welcome with my fists. Watching Arabella stepping towards Noreen, Jerome could only whisper a reminder. Don't push yourself too hard, I'll call it off if necessary. Call it off? Not a chance. I just spent 2 minutes, but I didn't see what was so special about this classmate here. Now, I want no one to stop within the next 5 minutes. Hearing Arabella's words, everyone was taken aback. She was so arrogant. She obviously hadn't been through the school of hard knocks. Did she hit the books too hard and get dumb? Hadn't she seen what happened to Joyce? Noreen was no pushover and she couldn't just beat her with a few moves. Jerome, these are your students' own words. What's said is said, there's no taking it back. After Roger spoke, he patted Noreen on the shoulder. Teach her a lesson, show her what we're made of. Got it. When Noreen walked onto the field, Arabella could only dodge her attacks and didn't land a hit on her. Noreen laughed triumphantly. She thought she was up against a tough opponent, but it turned out to be just this? Everyone was worried for Arabella. Why wasn't she fighting back? Was Noreen's moves too fast for her to handle, and was that the reason behind her not being able to launch a counterattack? Jerome felt a bit down. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have let her go up. She was so skinny and pretty, it would hurt to see her get hurt. Arabella, you've been dodging for a minute. You have 4 minutes left. Are you just gonna keep dodging? Roger chuckled. Is this the tactic your instructor taught you? Before Roger could finish speaking, everyone gasped. Arabella made a swift move, hitting Noreen directly in the waist. Before Roger could react, Arabella quickly kicked Noreen's calf, striking her head. The whole process was smooth. The so-called wasted minute was actually to wear out Noreen's stamina and let her guard down. Jerome couldn't believe his eyes. Was this something a girl could do? She never paid attention in class. How did she turn into a completely different person all of a sudden? Her moves were even better than his as an instructor, not only standard but also practical. Noreen was hit in the knee, head, face, and abdomen. She was a total mess. Everyone was dumbfounded, even the other classes were stunned by Arabella's swift moves, and started applauding. That was so cool. It was rare to see a girl fight with such momentum. But the cold aura Arabella exuded was like a lion dealing with a puppy. She was beyond cool. Arabella made a swift counterkick, and Noreen fell to the ground. The whole room erupted in applause. Arabella looked down at the person on the ground. Is this what your instructor taught you? Then it's really lame. The words had a double meaning, making Roger and Noreen's faces turn awkward. What, can't you get up? Arabella saw Noreen still on the ground and sneered. Is this the tactic your instructor taught you? Play dead when you can't fight. Many people in the field started laughing, obviously realizing that Arabella was giving them a taste of their own medicine, avenging her instructor and her classmate. Jerome felt a bit relieved. This girl really cared about him. Arabella. Noreen clenched her fists, finally understanding why Serena was bullied by this little devil to tears. This girl was not only insanely arrogant, but also incredibly annoying. Arabella looked at her coldly. Have you mastered the 7 moves I taught you before? If not, I still have time to teach you. Asterisk, do I need you to teach me? Noreen struggled to get up. Let's go again. Noreen was completely suppressed by Arabella and fell hard on the ground again. Students from Noreen's class were trying to stop the fight, but those from Arabella's class were not having it. When you were beating up Joyce from our class, how come you didn't stop then? Didn't you think you were all that? It was your instructor who said it would only take 5 minutes. It's only been 2.5 minutes, what's the rush? 2.5 minutes. Noreen felt like she was running out of breath already. Only 2.5 minutes had passed. Why was it that even though they had learned the same lessons, Arabella could execute the moves so well and always took the initiative? How was that possible? Next, Noreen was once again suppressed by Arabella until the last move was executed, right at the 5-minute mark. Jerome was stunned. Was this girl timing herself? But she was just a girl, how could she do that? Noreen couldn't get up anymore. Roger had 2 students carry her away. Although she wasn't bleeding, nobody knew better than Arabella that the injuries she sustained wouldn't heal in less than a week or 2 as they were internal. She certainly wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Just then, Lieutenant Madden happened to pass by and saw Noreen, whom he was asked to take special care of, being carried away. He was taken aback. She looked pretty beaten up. He immediately shot Roger a warning look. Roger didn't know what had happened. He had put a lot of effort into training Noreen, but she still ended up like this. At that point, he could only look at Jerome, implying that it was all Jerome's idea. Lieutenant Madden, hands behind his back, coldly said, Jerome, bring that student over to me. She actually dared to hit Noreen. She was needed to be taught a lesson. Seeing Lieutenant Madden's anger, Jerome whispered to Arabella, don't be scared, follow me. Arabella didn't seem scared at all, following him nonchalantly. Seeing that she didn't care after beating up her classmate, Lieutenant Madden's anger flared up even more. Jerome came before Lieutenant Madden, saluted, reported, and then continued, I was the one who told her to go up and spar. If there's any responsibility to take, I'll take it on my shoulders. Can you take this responsibility? The one who got beaten is Noreen, her dad is a big shot. Step aside. After Lieutenant Madden scolded him in a low voice, he turned to Arabella. This girl's aura was clearly not that of a good student. What's your name? Lieutenant Madden prepared to give her a good scolding. To his surprise, another man appeared before him. Lieutenant Madden, who was just acting superior, immediately greeted him respectfully and saluted. Lieutenant Colonel Capra, you're here? I didn't know you were coming. Lieutenant Colonel Capra, hearing that students were sparring, wanted to come and see. Seeing Lieutenant Madden seemingly scolding someone, he couldn't help but ask, what's going on? This student, Lieutenant Madden suddenly realized he didn't know the girl's name in front of him, so he asked, what's your name? Arabella. You're Arabella? Lieutenant Colonel Capra didn't expect that the person he'd been told to take special care of by many big shots was this young girl in front of him, Arabella Collins? Yes, that's me. Lieutenant Colonel Capra suddenly softened his expression. Have you been tired these past couple of days? Arabella looked a bit puzzled and slowly replied, "Not tired." With a sigh of relief, Lieutenant Colonel Capra said, "That's good. Who's your instructor?" He turned to Lieutenant Madden for answers. Lieutenant Madden was completely clueless, not understanding why the usually stern Lieutenant Colonel Capra was being so kind to this girl. Did she hold some special status? Reporting to Lieutenant Colonel Capra, "I am Arabella's instructor, Jerome." Jerome saluted as he spoke, his eyes filled with confusion as he too didn't understand why Lieutenant Colonel Capra was being so friendly towards this girl. "You're her instructor?" Lieutenant Colonel Capra praised with a smile. "She's got some serious punches." "You've done good." Standing firm, Jerome modestly replied, "Arabella is naturally talented. After all, even though she didn't pay much attention in class, her moves were top-notch. If not talent, then what could that be? Cultivate her well, she has potential," Lieutenant Colonel Capra said with a smile as he patted Jerome on the shoulder. Jerome was puzzled. Could someone really have potential just from being good at boxing? What kind of logic was that? "Oh, you were saying something about Arabella?" Lieutenant Colonel Capra turned to Lieutenant Madden, who seemed to have something to say. Lieutenant Madden, being quick-witted, realized the girl's importance and hastily said with a smile, "I just wanted to remind her to drink more water during the break since it's very hot out there." "That's it." Lieutenant Colonel Capra clearly didn't buy it. Was this something that needed to be specifically pointed out? In a hurry, Lieutenant Madden added, "And her boxing skills are really good, I wanted to praise her for it." Lieutenant Colonel Capra reprimanded, "Lieutenant Madden, I want to remind you, she's just a girl. Be careful with your tone and expression when you praise her. When I came over, your face didn't look so good. I thought you were going to criticize her." Lieutenant Madden was sweating bullets. "I wouldn't dare." Lieutenant Colonel Capra seriously said, "You better not." With that, he turned back to Arabella and kindly asked, "Arabella, could you give me your phone number?" This question left both Lieutenant Madden and Jerome in shock. Ignoring their reaction, Lieutenant Colonel Capra gently said, "I'm Lieutenant Colonel Capra here. All the captains and instructors answer to me. If you ever have any issues, you can tell that to me directly without any hesitation." Lieutenant Madden was trembling with fear, understanding that this girl was of high importance. Anyone who could make Lieutenant Colonel Capra act in such a respectful manner must have a higher status than him. He had made a huge mistake. Arabella didn't really want to give her phone number to Lieutenant Colonel Capra, but considering his rank and that he asked in front of his subordinates, she couldn't say no. With a smile, Lieutenant Colonel Capra said, "All right, you're dismissed. Remember to keep in touch." "Okay," Arabella nodded, unsure who told him to pay special attention to her. Was it Romeo? The principal? Her parents? Or her brothers? Understood. After saluting, Jerome quickly walked over to Arabella, curiously asking, "If your boxing skills are so advanced, why don't you give it your all in class?" He had been worrying about nothing all this time. He thought she would get a serious beating from Noreen. Arabella casually looked ahead, asking nonchalantly, "Do I really need to take basic boxing that seriously?" Wow. The girl was seriously snooty. People with support do behave differently. Lying on the sick bed in the school's clinic, the more Noreen thought about it, the angrier she got. She whipped out her phone and texted Serena. "Serena, guess who I just ran into?" Upon receiving the message, Serena immediately had a bad feeling. Noreen and Arabella were both in medical school. Could it be? She cautiously asked, "Don't tell me it's Arabella?" Did Arabella spill the beans? Did she expose her fake identity? Exactly. Noreen spat, "I swear, she's my sworn enemy now." Serena was uneasy, pretending to care about her situation, and she inquired about the situation, not expecting Arabella to be such a good fighter. She was raised in the countryside, must have been led astray by some bad apples. "Sorry, Noreen. I had no idea she could be so rude and not tone it down in school. My parents took her in because a fortune teller said she'd bring good luck to the Collins family. They treat her like a foster daughter. The fortune teller said she's the older sister and I'm the younger. I always gave in to her, but now she thinks she's a real Collins, acting all high and mighty. Ever since she joined this family, she's been so arrogant. I put up with her bullying me but didn't expect her to be so cocky at school. Thank God you didn't mention knowing me, or she would have been ruthless today. Noreen, this is my family's issue. My parents even made me swear not to reveal any of this to anyone, but you're my best friend, so I let it out. Don't worry, Serena, I won't spill the beans. Upon hearing Noreen's promise, Serena pretended to care about her injuries and kept apologizing. It's not your fault, no need to say sorry. The one at fault was Arabella. If anyone should apologize, it should be her. Once I'm better, I'll give her a piece of my mind. A determined look flashed in Noreen's eyes. Serena sent a sighing emoji. The fortune teller said our family will face a great disaster. Only by keeping her can we turn the tides. Even for this, if something happens to her, my parents will definitely hold someone accountable. Forget it, Noreen. The fortune teller said there's no one else like her in this world, so my parents value her a lot. Noreen got the hint. Don't worry, I'll play it by ear. What's the big deal about knowing some boxing? I'll get my brother, the Sonda champion, to teach me a few moves. I bet I can keep Arabella in check. Then who would be the loser? Even so, they were so far from home at that time. If something happened to Arabella by accident, did her parents would hold her accountable? Even if they wanted to, they'd need solid evidence, right? As long as nobody knew who had committed the act. Noreen, even though your family's ancestors were royal physicians, and you have many famous doctor relatives, Arabella's medical skills are also top-notch. She had helped Grandpa Philip before, and now she was taking care of Grandma Shirley. She heard that Grandma Shirley was getting better. Both were taking the medication she prescribed. Even though she didn't really think Arabella was that much of a hotshot doctor, after all, she failed to treat Grace Murphy. But they still needed to be on their toes. What if she was actually a better doctor than Noreen? Noreen got Serena's drift. Don't sweat it, Serena. When it comes to medicine, I can confidently say I'm miles ahead of her. I've been immersed in medicine since I was a kid. Arabella surpassing me? That is possible only in her dreams. You must totally outshine her professionally, show her who's boss and give her a good lesson. Rest assured, Serena, I will. Serena hung up the phone, and a smirk of satisfaction flashed in her eyes. Even if she was not at Westerly College, she could still make Arabella's life miserable. For the next 2 days, ever since he realized that Arabella was no pushover, Jerome wouldn't let her join any extracurricular activities. Today's training was a 3-kilometer run. He whistled and beckoned Arabella. Grab the stopwatch and stand under the tree, time them. Arabella was confused. What was going on? Wasn't she allowed to participate in the activity? She was just supposed to watch them? Was this not isolating her or what? The classmates all noticed that. These 2 days, Jerome was extra protective of Arabella, not letting her join any activities. Was it because she was pretty? Was he into her? Thinking like this, they all chuckled knowingly. Everyone ready, on my command, start running. Jerome blew the whistle, completely disregarding their assumptions. Everyone started to run. Arabella, just find a shady spot and time them. Jerome turned his head and suddenly found that Arabella was gone. Looking closely, he found out that she had already joined the group and was running behind her classmates. Wasn't she supposed to time them? Why did she just join the group with the stopwatch? If something happened, how was he going to explain it to Lieutenant Colonel Capra? And how would Lieutenant Colonel Capra explain it to his superiors? This clueless girl was nothing but trouble. Seeing Arabella completing a lap and passing by him, Jerome quickly stepped forward. Arabella, come here for a second. Arabella ignored him and continued running. It felt great to move her body like this. She was bored out of her mind from not participating in the past 2 days of training. Worried that she might faint, when she completed the second lap, Jerome blew the whistle again. Arabella, come over here. Time's not up. Arabella continued running, as swift as the wind. Jerome suddenly regretted letting her run 3 kilometers. If she continued like this, she might be in danger. By the time Arabella completed the 3rd lap, Jerome immediately blocked her way, saying sternly, "Didn't you hear me when I told you to time them from under the tree?" A few classmates nearby were surprised. Jerome looked like a boyfriend worried about his girlfriend getting tired from running. It looked so warm. Are you criticizing me? Arabella narrowed her eyes, and Jerome suddenly felt a little intimidated by her words. I mean, you can just time them from under the tree. That girl's aura was too strong, and that involuntarily reminded him of his superior. I'll participate in all the following activities. Whatever happens, I won't complain to Lieutenant Colonel Capra, so you can relax. After saying that, Arabella turned around to catch up with the group, without giving Jerome any chance to refuse her proposal. Watching the determined back of the young girl, Jerome suddenly realized that her personality and the way she handled things were very similar to one of his superiors. Thinking of his young but stern-faced superior, Jerome couldn't help but shiver. So scary. Jerome may not know that you can easily run for 10 kilometers, Kelly chuckled as she ran. I wonder who got him to give you this special care? It's so obvious that he's just giving you a hard time. I'm not so sure myself. Arabella jogged at an easy pace, guessing that aside from her family, it might just be Romeo who would pull something like that. By the way, the thing you're looking for will be at an auction in half a month. We'll go together. Sounds good, just give me a heads up when it's time. No problem. After running 3 kilometers, everyone stood in front of Jerome, panting heavily, listening to him speak. Jerome's gaze swept across the crowd. Guys, tomorrow's Friday, and we're setting up an obstacle race on the hill behind the school. If any class can get through the obstacle in the shortest time and grab the flag at the finish line, they win. The winning class gets a day off. Everyone got overjoyed upon hearing that. Sweet. This field trip was set to last for half a month with absolutely no breaks. A day off was like a godsend to them. But grabbing the flag won't be that easy. None of the instructors will be with you to assist. You'll have to tackle the challenge on your own. Hearing that, many people started to get nervous. Do you have confidence? Yes. Remember, we're not cowards. Even if we have to crawl, we crawl to the finish line. Got it. Got it. Louder. Got it. Good, dismissed. Jerome blew his whistle, then turned to Arabella. Arabella, can you come over here for a second? People started to whisper. Looks like Jerome really has a thing for Arabella. He couldn't wait to talk to her right after dismissal. Do you think Arabella likes him? Will she agree to date him? I think it's possible. He seems macho and manly. His skin is a bit rough, but he's handsome. Arabella walked over to Jerome and asked in a flat tone, "What's up? Can you not call me out in front of everyone?" Her cheeks were a bit flushed from the run, making her look even more beautiful. Jerome couldn't meet her eyes, coughed awkwardly, and asked with his head low, just now when you were running, did you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Arabella was puzzled by that question. Did anything go wrong? Arabella was a bit speechless and then assured him saying, "Don't worry, I'm fine." "Okay, if you don't feel up to tomorrow's race, you can take a leave." "I'm fine." Arabella lifted her chin confidently. Jerome was surprised by her attitude. What a confident girl. If there's really a problem, just turn on your phone. The tracker will find your location. Arabella was taken aback as she was being pampered like a baby. Was she really that weak? Rest assured, I will hand the flag to you tomorrow. Watching the girl turn and leave, Jerome sighed again. She's too confident, overly confident. She was still too young to understand the gravity of things happening around her.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.